like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Alright y'all, I'm back with another flashback. This video features Rambo. Guys, I am still currently working on re-uploading all of my content back onto YouTube, adding my commentary so that I can meet the YouTube guidelines. This is why you guys are seeing so many flashbacks from my channel. However, I can assure you that I'm staying on top of everything happening within Carbonation. Y'all, please be sure to drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Alright y'all, let's get into this video.
I think because it's like a mind fuck that most of us live our life completely backwards. It's just crazy how we don't even know that there's another way, like there's another angle on life. And yeah, I guess I'm just grateful, like reflecting on the fact that I've been able to transform my life to the degree that I have, like, because who I am now it's not who I was. Like sometimes I don't even recognize myself. Like how did I get here?
Y'all, I ain't even finna hold y'all, but Rambo ain't never lie. I don't really understand how he got there either. He went from being someone's servant, because he was Eligio Bishop, aka Nature Boy, aka Three God's servant, to being an alpha male, a man in charge of his own destiny, and I'm very proud of him.
It's like the sense of identity that I had to who I used to be is severed. Like, but it leaves me in this weird space where it's like this is new to me. Like who I am today is new to me. It's newer to me than who I was before. So yeah, at that time, I just went all in. I just started I changed my diet. I just went completely 100%, like, in on the food. It was a good time because it was like, I felt a sense of hope. Like, this is new. Like, this is what I was looking for. Like, just some empowering perspective on life. Like, there's another way. Like, you're not just a victim to your life and what's happening to you. Like, you have power to control and navigate who you want to be and how you want to experience life. Like, that's within your control, like. And so, yeah, I just changed the way I was eating. I changed what I was listening to, what I was watching, how I was thinking, even people around me and friends and stuff. Like, they were like being inspired by what I was doing too. And so it was really having an effect, not just on me, but everybody around me. It was just a moment in time, something that happened. And I just felt like I was just getting taken for a ride from the universe, And that kind of is what started everything. And then along my journey, I was just doing everything. I was trying everything. I was fasting, I got really into like the food, into the healing aspect of it. I wanted to really isolate myself. I was like in the mountains fasting. Um, and I was working on the relationship with my brother. That was something that has always been very challenging for us. Because I was still immature, you know, and I was like living with my brother, and I wasn't paying no rent, and like I wasn't trying to get no job or nothing like that, because I just like I said in my post, I had a perception of myself that wasn't a reality. So I expected the world to acquiesce to my perception, but it's like I wasn't putting out the action to prove that, you know. I wasn't proving it to myself, and I definitely wasn't proving it to the world. And so in that aspect of myself, I was really neglecting, but this healing space that I came into, it really set the tone for kind of how I was going to move into this next stage of my life, because it allowed me the space, and I'm thankful for the space. I'm thankful for my brother. I'm thankful for everything that has happened to me, because it was all part of the process. And eventually I knew I had to move on from that situation with my brother. And that's when I was like hitting up people. I don't know, for some reason I felt like I needed to be somewhere. I needed to go somewhere. And I imagined a place where we can work on ourselves, where people can come together and heal, and people can come together and tap into greater versions of themselves. And that's when I reached out to somebody online, and that was a group of people that were living in the tropics, and that just seemed very compelling to me. He was talking about the system. He was talking about.
He doesn't come right out and say it, but he reached out to Lehio Bishop, aka Nature Boy, aka Three God, and the people that he's referring to is Carbonation.
That just seemed very compelling to me. He was talking about the system. He was talking about how, you know, how we're living backwards, and he was just talking about a lot of things that were just really compelling to me, and I just really resonated with, and it made it very hard for me to be present in life and to continue to participate in the kind of things I was participating in. I couldn't focus, and that's why I knew I had to that was something that I was going to have to experience. So I ended up, something happened within that group where they were looking for somebody that had skills that I had, and they were looking for somebody that spoke Spanish because they were in Costa Rica and they didn't speak Spanish. And so I reached out to Nature Boy, was his name, and I was like, yo, what's up? Yeah, I do this and I speak Spanish, and he's like, all right, like come, and literally booked a ticket. Within like a month after that, you know, I ended up like landing in Costa Rica, and that's when really shit that's when like life really went inside out. And that experience was crazy. Like that experience was crazy in the sense that it was ayahuasca for real. Like and it's funny because that's what he used to say. Like he used to say he was ayahuasca, but like being in that experience and after coming out of it felt like being in some deep psychedelic experience. It just like fuck with your mind. It really did fuck with your mind. Just but yeah, that's the intentions I went there with. I went there like I thought I was part of something that was helping to heal the world. I thought we were changing the world. We were enlightening ourselves and sharing that information with others. We were living a lifestyle and paving the way for something new. And we were making music. We were sharing content. We were creating a culture, you know. And that's it. Really felt it was an amazing time. It was an amazing experience. And somewhere along the way, okay, let me tell you what happened when I got there. He was talking to me and he was like just showing me around. He was just like, man, you made it. You made it to the, basically he's like, there's nothing else out there, you know, like this, you landed here, and he's showing me around. It was like this beautiful mountain, a house on top of a mountain overlooking like the whole valley. And I remember at that time, like we were giving our soil back to the earth, as we would say. So we were like shitting outside and peeing outside. And he's like basically like walking with me, and he's like showing me around, and I look outside, and it's like two men out there just giving giving their soul back to the earth like nothing. Like it was just like, that's just what we do. Like it was just like animals in nature just doing what they do. Like it was so natural, and it was just, shit just blew my mind, because I was like, what the hell did I get myself into? Like, where am I? Like, what is this? Where people are just taking shit right on the ground. Like, I'd never seen nothing like that in my entire life. That was so foreign to me.
Y'all, what would y'all think if y'all pulled up on Carbonation like Rambo and everybody was just taking a sugar honey iced tea in the grass, in the woods, out in the open? What would y'all think about that? Put it in the comments. Let me know.
Nothing like that in my entire life. That was so foreign to me. Yeah, but it was at the same time so gravitationally appealing, because it's like, I gotta figure out what's going on here, you know. And from the very beginning, there was an air of like, I knew this was like a serious situation, because I wasn't used to being part of a group. I was used to being by myself. So in that group, like, you moved as a unit, you know, you moved together in unison. And so sometimes we would get out the car and I'd be walking ahead, and he would feel some type of way, because he's like, why are you moving ahead? Like, are you trying to lead? I remember one time he got me in front of everybody. He's like, do you think that you're the leader of this? And I was like, nah, I was just walking ahead. Like, I thought you guys were taking too long or whatever. But from the very beginning, like, there was always like this air of like competition, or like he made sure to check certain things in terms of ideologies. I had certain beliefs at that time. I was still raw vegan, but when I got there, that was kind of an issue, because they were eating cooked food. And for me, that was like a big deal. And we got into this little argument, or not an argument, I said debate, where basically I felt like he was shunning my ability to express myself, and everybody goes going along with it. So I just gave in and acquiesced, and I said, look, all right, fuck it, I'll eat what you guys eat. And that's kind of, like, I left it at that. And yeah, there was many times where that was like kind of set the tone for how I was going to move, where I was like going to decide either I'm here, and I already took the plunge, I already left everything I had. I left with the intention that I was leaving for good, that I was leaving and moving on into something new in my life. So it wasn't like, oh, I just go back home. Like, there was nothing to go back to really anyways. So I was kind of all in and committed. And so, you know, we started having fun. We started making music. We were going to the river. We were, you know, watching movies together. It was just a different situation. Like, when he spoke, people had to listen. Like, you had to sit down. And I thought that was weird. I thought that was strange, where I just thought like, okay, cool, I agree with what you're talking about, but I didn't think it was that serious to where we had to like give our undivided attention every time he spoke or came on camera and gave something. But that was just the reality of that situation. And we ended up going on a trip, right? So the person whose house we were living in, they were going to come back. So we needed to look for a new place to stay. And so we were venturing through Costa Rica to try to find a new place to live. And we go down south to this place, or I think it's called Cahuita. It's right by Limon, like probably like 30, 45 minutes from Limon. Is that what it's called, Limon? Yeah, I think so. So we're staying there in somebody's backyard. We got our camping gear. Uncle that we met online, he's letting us stay there. He's getting coconuts off the tree, we're drinking coconut water, and it's like, life is good, right? And so we start. I think we were like drinking wine or something, and we end up driving. What was going on? Like, there was like some festival or something going on in the city. So we're gonna like, let's go check it out. And so we're driving to there, and then we got stopped at a checkpoint, and that's basically started a whole thing. We got stopped at a checkpoint, and they're basically checking us. Something's going on with the car. The paperwork isn't in alignment, and for whatever reason, he decides that we need to protest, that we need to start protesting. So a lot of the people's visas were expired, because at that time we didn't believe in the visas, and we didn't believe in in this idea that you belong to the U.S. government, so you need to renew your visa as property of the U.S. government. We believe that we were humans who have the sovereignty to travel across countries and wherever we please as natural beings, just like a bird would travel right over the U.S. border and not have to show a visa or anything. Like we were moving like that, you know. And so we started to protest, and we were saying like, we're humans, somos humanos. I remember he asked me like, well, how do you say we're humans? I said, somos humanos. So we just kept saying, somos humanos, somos humanos. And like the people got their rifles out. Like it became like a whole scene scenario where they basically ended up taking us to jail. So they put us in like this bus, and we're all in this one bus, and they basically take us to the police station. And it's like, how many people was it? Maybe 10, 15 people. There's maybe 10, 15 of us. We started to get really aggressive, and then the police was asking us to get down from the car. And this was all live, by the way. I don't know if anybody could dig up this live, but this was all live to where we're negotiating with. And so they basically, at some point, like give us a final warning, and then they all line up, a bunch of men, and they just storm the van. And this was all on live, and on the live you could see where he drops the phone, and you could just hear everything that's happening. Women are screaming, like the men are fighting, and the police is just basically yanking us out of the bus, like yanking us through the window, yanking us through the door. Just complete like chaos. Like people are bleeding, people are, you know, missing hair. Like it got crazy, you know. And so we ended up getting taken to jail. They wanted us to sign paperwork. We refused to sign paperwork. We ended up going to jail for, I don't even remember how long, but it felt like a long time. And basically, he didn't want to sign anything, so he thought that they were going to keep us locked up, and he was just super paranoid. And he thought they were going to kill us for whatever reason. But we kept getting taken in paddy wagons, like to the trial or whatever, to where the judge, to try to come up to some kind of negotiation or conclusion. And every time we had to go back, it just sucked, because like the place where we were staying at the jail was completely black, like completely dark. Like it was at night, you can barely breathe. It was like there was no circulation. Like you didn't even feel like you were breathing air. It just felt like you were in complete stillness and darkness.
All right, y'all, go ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
And all you could hear was other people's voices. And, you know, it was a crazy situation. Like these people in there, like they were like the young, just basically like up to no good people who just grew up in very tough situations. And it was very obvious, like, you know. But after we left that, so a group of us were released, because a group of us were had our visas in order, and because we had just got there, and there was maybe 3 of us, 2 women and me, or 3 women and me, I think, were the ones that had got there recently. So we were allowed to leave, while the other ones had to go to where did they go? They went to immigration jail, which is like a jail that they take people who have expired visas or who are not residents of that country, Costa Rica. So when we left, remember I told you we were camping out at this guy's house in his backyard, and this was just like a uncle of somebody online that we met that kind of gave us this connection. And so I'm like, oh, okay, we're out. Okay, at least I can breathe fresh air. Okay, we'll go back. We'll get all our stuff. We had computers, we had tablets, we had drones, we had laptops, and we had money and our wallets and all kinds of stuff back at that place. So I'm like, cool, like we'll just go back there, we'll get our stuff. And this had been like, I don't know how long we were in there, maybe a week or 2 since we had come back. So I get a taxi. I'm like, hey, it's cool. Like, I don't have no money right now, but once we get to the spot, I'll pay you, right? So this was like 30, 45 minutes away, and we get back to the spot, and everything is gone. I was panicked, because I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do now? It's like the middle of the night, and all our stuff is gone. I can't pay this taxi guy back because I don't have no money. And then the owner of the property, he comes, big ass dude. He must have been like 6'6" or something, like just a big dude. And just he came out like angry. He said like, you owe me money. You guys owe me money. He was telling the story that the Costa Rican police had came and taxed him because he was letting people stay there. So he said we need to owe him money, and he was holding all our stuff ransom until we gave him money. And yeah, so he let us take like a couple of backpacks and a laptop and a drone. And it's funny because one of the girls that was there, who's my wife now, I'll never forget this. I was like, what the fuck are we about to do? So she just grabs a chair, sits down, and she crosses her arms, and she looks at me. He's like, well, what are we going to do? And I'm just like, are y'all playing a game on me right now? Like, is this like, it felt like a setup. Like, it felt like it felt like it was a prank. It was like, this can't really be happening. Like, I have no idea what the fuck we're about to do right now. Like, everything has gone wrong. Like, not only did we get thrown in jail, but we don't have no money. We don't have no connects. We don't have no ability to get money. Like, everything was just completely taxed. My options were so limited. So at that point, my mind starts moving. And I end up, I said, I talked to the taxi guy, because my priority was to get out of there, because I didn't feel safe anymore at that point, because this dude was about to, he was very aggressive, basically, and he thought we owed him money. And so I just wanted to get up out of there as fast as we could to get us somewhere safe. So I just told the taxi guy, hey, can you drive us to San Jose? I got a drone, I got a laptop. You hold on to that as like some collateral, and then when we get money, I can pay you for your ride and however much you need, and then give me the stuff back. And so we didn't have no money at that point, no place to sleep, no place to rest our head. And all we had access to was a PayPal. But we didn't know how to get that money from the PayPal, like to actually use it. So he ends up agreeing, and he says, okay, I'll drive you guys to San Jose. So he takes us to San Jose, and along the way, I'm just like researching, and I end up finding like a hostel that would accept PayPal. So we're here dragging like 15 people's stuff. Like, he let us take like backpacks and stuff and clothing and that kind.
All right, y'all. If you haven't picked up your copy of Greatness is a Habit, authored by Aaron Dixon, otherwise known as True, many of you know him as True. He is an ex-Carbonation member, and he's authored this amazing read. If you are interested in self-development and growth, this book is a good one for you. It's available on Apple Books for $1, guys. I got my copy, and I love this book.
Kind of thing, but he kept like, we had solar panels, we had like solar batteries, we had all this other stuff that cameras, like video cameras, all kinds of stuff that he ended up keeping. So we were just dragging all this shit along with us, like 15 people's worth of stuff into this hostel, and just trying to figure it out, you know. And that was one of the moments that I feel like, for me, like I really felt that sense of responsibility coming into like being a man, is like when shit really hits the fan and you really don't have options, and you got to get creative, and you got to really, like, when people's like life is basically at stake, like that's a different situation that kind of summons something out of you that you couldn't summon otherwise. Like, you have to figure this shit out. Like, it's like a life and death situation. And so that was one of those defining moments for me that I'm like, oh, damn, I need to figure out how I'm going to get out of this. And luckily I did. I was able to figure something out. And so, yeah, man, we're dragging this stuff along. And long story short, they end up getting out of jail later. Like, we got our money, like basically got access to money, and we started doing things to try to get out of that situation. Costa Rica flies them out of Costa Rica back to the U.S. So basically they're like, okay, you guys got to leave. You're banned from the country for 5 years or whatever. And we basically end up all flying together. Or we were about to fly together. This is another part. This was on WorldStar, by the way. We end up getting on the plane. Everybody's together. But because the ethos back then was like, we're natural humans, like our body odor, that's just our natural smell, just like any animal anywhere in nature. Like you don't use deodorant. Yeah, you wash up and you clean with water, but you're not you're not really you're not really like using soap and stuff like that. So they get on the plane, or we get on the plane. Everybody got on the plane, and the Spirit Airlines ends up kicking everybody off because people were complaining that there was a smell that we smelled. And this shit was on WorldStar. I remember seeing it later, but it was pretty crazy in terms of like when you think about how humans aren't allowed to be human. Like really, like there's limits to how human you could be, how wild you could be. Like you have to still follow the norms of like civilization in terms of even when you're not harming anybody, like you're expected to conduct yourself through like the lens of civilization. In terms of how you look, even like the hair, like if you grow it too long, if you lock your hair, people will perceive you a certain way, and so if you're not using deodorant, perfumed up, and not covering your natural body odor, like people feel a certain way about that. So it's like we at that time we had isolated for a little bit, and so we were kind of coming back in contact with the realities of the civilized world. And just of people's cultural perceptions of how they thought people should move and behave. And so, yeah, man, we ended up flying back to the States and going through a whole nother journey. But the point of that story was that really was the catalyst for me to come into my own path, because it really showed me a different way, a different route. It showed me that you could create your own world, that you could create your own reality, cultivate your own space, create your own culture, that we're mutable in the sense that we can decide.
All right, y'all, go on ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
Even if we were born into a culture that we don't necessarily agree or align to, that we could decide to pivot and change and create something new. And as a man, it showed me that if I don't have a sense of who I am is clear, that I will be subject to somebody else's world, somebody else's perspective. And I think that that's kind of the common thing, even in the system, civilization, like you're working for somebody else, you're working for another man's vision, another man's idea. And I think that just showed me to myself, and I didn't really like how that looked, for me. I felt like I could there was so much potential for me to tap into, and that allowed myself to be used in another man's world for something, a vision that wasn't mine. And I didn't like that for myself. And so I chose at some point to leave that situation and embark on my own journey, my own development, my own creation, and that's where I am now. Like that situation reflected that right back to me. It made it so obvious that I had to confront it on a daily basis, that shadow within myself. Because before this, I thought that I knew something. I thought that I was that person in my mind. But like I said, sometimes our perception of ourselves doesn't reflect reality, and so the sooner you can kind of come to terms with that, and really accept who you're being and who you are right now, the faster that you can actually move to being who you actually want to be, and express and take action to become who you want to be. So many times in that situation, I was shown who I was being. Like, oh, you think you're a leader? You're not. Look at how you move. Oh, you think you this? Like, no, you're not. Look at how you move. Like, you think that you are righteous, that you are moral. Look at, you're turning your eye to this. You're not speaking up about this. Why aren't you doing that? Like, so it was many things in that situation that were very helpful in me seeing my own shortcomings, my own insecurities, my own debilitations. And that was the catalyst for me to come into the person that I am today. Leaving that situation, also me and my family, like we ended up coming to Hawaii. Like we kind of, when my son was born, we left that situation because that situation, it just wasn't conducive to like children and family. It wasn't that type of situation. So when we landed on an island, we were basically homeless at some point, you know, and that was another situation where I just realized I have people depending on me and I had to rise to the occasion. You know, you get to a point where you're not even given an option anymore to, or I guess you are. Some people do take that route to where like they give up those responsibilities. Plenty of men out here have kids and they're not really attending to them. They're not really connecting and building that relationship. They might just leave and not be a part of that child's life. Like people still have a option, but for me, that was more than enough catalyst for me to feel like I have a responsibility over my life, over my family, over my son, that I need to do what I need to do what is necessary, and figure out a way to create a situation that brings harmony, that brings stability, that brings just a thriving environment to the situation. And so that was its own struggle, figuring out how I was going to do that, how I was going to, you know, do that from that situation. But that right there too was really cultivating me, putting me through the fire of the furnace, like I say, of coming into my manhood. That was for me my rite of passage, those 2 years that I spent in that group, the coming here and being homeless and figuring out how to go from literally no money, $0, to building a life out of that with no inheritance, no reserves, no backup, nobody, really providing anything beyond like some donations that we received that I'm really thankful for, because in the moment, they really helped us out a lot. But I think it's what we did with those donations, what we did with that energy, what we did with that opportunity, that really speaks a lot to how we didn't take that for granted. We leveraged that experience into becoming greater, and that's, if I could share one thing, is like, that's what you have to do, because it's easy to blame the situation or just live a life moving forward where it's like you feel resentment towards the person or the situation or what happened. But at the end of the day, these things are here that we can use as catalysts for our own growth and development. And that's what we've understood for a long time now, is that the people that leave those kinds of situations, in anything in life really that you go through, it's about how you perceive it moving forward. It's about how you think about it, because some people will think about it and move on as a victim, and this thing that happened, that their life is the way it is because of that. And other people will be like, that gave me the strength necessary to embody a new part of myself that I didn't even think was possible. And that's 100% what it did for me. Who I am now, talking on camera and sharing myself, sharing my story, this is not who I was before. Go look at my old videos. When I first got on camera, I didn't even look like I wanted to be on camera. It was just like, I was very...
I ain't even finna hold y'all. He's absolutely right. When he first got with Carbonation, he was not very comfortable with public speaking, but he's come into himself. I don't like the fact that Rambo gives credit to Eligio Bishop, aka Nature Boy, aka 3 God, for who he's become today, because I don't think that, that situation formulated him as much as his own mind and his own decisions and his own choices to leave that situation and build with serenity. You know what I'm saying, y'all?
I wanted to be on camera. It was just like, I was very, I was very like quiet. I wasn't sharing myself. It took a lot for me to become who I am today, in terms of expression, in terms of sharing, in terms of articulating my message, my thoughts. And all of that was part of the journey. All of that was very helpful. And so that's why I created Wild Brotherhood, because I think that hardship, that challenge, is what makes you be that. And I think that we can induce that consciously and intentionally onto ourselves when we are aware of it, because that's what I said, like, either life is going to do it for you, but if life doesn't do it for you, you might end up in a space where, yeah, you didn't go through the hardship, but you also didn't get the benefit that you could potentially attain from enduring that and being able to come out the other end and be better for it, So yeah, that's why I put together Wild Brotherhood, is for us to connect, to build, and to exercise that muscle of challenge with one another, and share also the things that have helped us into tap into new parts of ourselves, new development of ourselves, and just be better for it. You know, life is, I think for the masculine, like that process of going through shit is very crucial. Like it sucks in the moment. You might not like it. It's not supposed to feel good, but it's the results that you get out the other end that really make it a positive thing. You know, otherwise you might not go through shit, but you also don't grow. You also don't become more. You also don't see and test your potential. You know, and so being around other men who have high standards, that is very helpful, so that you can hold yourself to a higher standard, because your environment is really what dictates who you are and what you're expressing. If you're around a bunch of other men who have no ambition, who have no desire to work on themselves, who have no desire to grow, then you're just going to be a reflection of that. Or at the very minimum, they're going to stifle your ability to keep growing and keep pushing, you know. But if you have other men who are always going to hold you to a certain standard, who are going to introduce new things in your life that you can grow from, who are going to give you a healthy perspective and hold you to a certain standard and accountable for your actions, that's going to propel you and grow you even more, you know. So I got on camera, share my story, something that's new for me, something I'm still working on, just sharing myself. Like I'm really comfortable with just sharing information. Like, oh, here's the facts, here's what happened historically, here's what to eat, here's what to do. But when it comes to like this personal stuff, like it's challenging for me. It's not where my comfort lies, but life ain't about being comfortable. It's about challenging yourself. So I figured I'd get on here and challenge myself to be transparent, to share my story, and to see if anybody resonates with it, you know. Then I hope that I inspired anybody, or just, you know, gave a little bit of inspiration for the day or whatever, you know. So yeah, if anybody, if any men out there want to connect with other men, conscious men, go to wild-brotherhood.com. We're still having the gathering here on June 14th through the 18th, where we'll be self-inducing a rite of passage of sorts. We're going to be doing hunting, we're going to be doing hiking, we're going to be doing hard shit, we're going to be doing exercise, and we're going to be connecting with one another and bringing those shadows to the surface, to the light, and working on that together in brotherhood. If you can't do the event, if you don't have the resources for that at the moment, we also have the Wild Brotherhood membership. That's where we're getting on a weekly basis, video chat, talking with one another. We have the group chat where we'll be connecting. You could share what you're going through, what you're present to at the moment, some goals that you might have, and track that progress, and get also insight. And
Yes, guys, Rambo has started the Wild Brotherhood. It's a group of men who get together with each other. They support one another. They share ideas. They encourage one another. And they also share strategies in life with each other. So I think it's a great idea. I don't think there's enough of that for men and women out there.
have and track that progress, and get also insight and, you know, guidance from other people who maybe have already done what you're doing and have more experience in that. So the brotherhood is good. It's necessary. I think that we all need brotherhood, especially as men, to connect with one another. When you look at tribal groups, it's like it's the men are usually doing what the men do and the women are doing what the women do. Like that brotherhood, the sisterhood for the women, but the brotherhood for the men. I think that that's crucial to growth and self-development and just for life. Like it's just a conducive part of life. So that's what the Wild Brotherhood is about. If you have any questions, hit me up. I'd love to connect about it. Let me see if anybody has any questions. Okay, somebody said, Insomnia asks, how do I connect to my indigenous culture when my own family is very removed from their own culture's history? Yeah, that's how I feel too. Like growing up in the situation that I did, I didn't feel like my family was connected to the cultural history that they came from. It was more so, like I said, it was like the equivalent of like you're American, but imagine like you're American, but you're like Native American descendant, but you only know about like the American culture and you don't know nothing about like your native roots. That's kind of how I attribute it to where like my parents Mexican, but they don't know nothing about like the lineage that they descend from beyond that, like the cultural, um, indigenous culture that that at some point was present. So like part of that for me, I have tried to like kind of reconnect back to that, but I haven't had any success in terms of like specific groups. So that's why I kind of, for me, I look for the commonalities between a lot of indigenous cultures. I look for the commonalities in these traditions, and seeing just how what humans share. And, and so that's what has helped me is just to, try to connect with that general, because I feel like on a deeper level, like humans are very similar. Like we're all human, so the human experience and how we socialize and how we see the world, like at some fundamental level, like there's a lot of overlap in things that we share. It just gets expressed differently through different cultures. But if the closer you kind of get back to the land, the more you start to experience that connection. But that's going to look differently depending on where you live in the world. And, and how you do that is going to vary depending on the culture that you're a part of. So, for me, it's like, what are the commonalities of the perception? Fifi asked, when you talking about hunting, can you give us an example of what you will hunt? So yeah, for the hunt, um, it will most likely be wild pig, wild boar, and that's just because we'll probably be hunting with dogs, and that's just like for a group setting that's an easier hunt. But when it comes to like bow hunting, like maybe goats or sheep, that's going to be more challenging to execute with the group because it requires like getting closer and stalking the animal and all that. So it's most likely going to be a wild boar hunt with dogs. I have a couple of guides, experienced guides, that would be helping me out with that. People who have a lot of experience in that and who are already guides. So yeah, that's what we would be doing. But I just think that it would be important for a lot of men who haven't had that kind of experience to experience that, because it's a very visceral experience and it's very real. Like there's nothing more real to me than like life and death. So even if you could experience the birth, that like a natural birth of a child, I think that's very visceral, that's very impactful. But then on the other end of that spectrum, as a man trying to provide, I think that hunting component is very crucial for developing the self and just getting into close proximity to that visceral component of physicality that we've had to traditionally endure. Like men have to traditionally go through that kind of thing. Ricano Jefe said, what kind of martial art training are y'all going to be doing? So I have somebody who is kickboxing, who has won some like kickboxing competition, has a lot of experience in kickboxing, that I'm thinking about, having be a part of the event. But other than that, I have my brother who also has experience in boxing, and so might be doing some sparring with that. Just something that where you could feel your body and feel that energy, and shit.
All right, y'all. If you haven't picked up your copy of Greatness is a Habit, authored by Aaron Dixon, otherwise known as True, many of you know him as True. He is an ex-Carbonation member, and he's authored this amazing read. If you are interested in self-development and growth, this book is a good one for you. It's available on Apple Books for $1, guys. I got my copy and I love this book.
Share that with other men in a way that's positive, I think that could be beneficial to kind of have that container to express that outlet, to express that, physicality part of it. I'm really looking forward to that. So yeah, it'll be dope. It'll be fun. You know, for anybody that that resonates with it. Mary said, hello from Brazil. Thanks for all the knowledge. I appreciate it. I'm grateful. All the way from Hawaii to Brazil. Aloha. Yeah, so if anybody, Cold Press says, do you have any rituals? We're doing a ceremony at the end. I don't want to really reveal too much about that because I want it to kind of be more just like private and sacred, but we'll do something special to kind of close things out, have a ceremony, give something for the men to leave back with something physical, and then also you know, just to tie the whole experience together. You know, I have a lot of things planned. So for the foods, like local and wild foods, where we're doing just local wild foods. Like I said, might have somebody like do like a professional chef or private chef to be cooking some of the meals. So yeah, just I want it to be a good experience, but I also want it to be challenging. I want it to be growth inducing. I want it to be something visceral, something that you could feel and walk away with like, man, that shook me up a little bit, because I think that it's easy we get like stuck in just the monotony of just the common culture, and we don't have those kinds of experiences. Or Harmonic Tapestry said, "Can I be the chef?" Are you on the island? Yeah, we can connect if you are. If that's something that you do. I'd be open to it. Like this is the first event, so I'm still trying to unravel and see the specifics of how it's gonna go and what I'm gonna, you know, add or take away or whatever. But that's about it. Cold Press asks, what is required to join Wild Brotherhood? Yeah, so if you just go to the website, it's a monthly subscription. Right now it's $30 a month, and yeah, you get access to the network of man, the group chat, and we're gonna be doing like video coaching calls with one another on a weekly basis. So if you have any goals, my goal is for like men to like just dominate in all areas of their life, to really feel confident and secure about who they are and their purpose in this lifetime. And so I know that is really far from a lot of men and what they're currently experiencing, but I know it's possible because I've done it for myself, to be able to tap into your purpose, to be able to generate resources with your purpose, to be able to add value to the world and do it in a righteous way, and then to connect to the natural world. So we're going over 3 worlds. It's something that I talked about before, but it's like I want men to be equipped in nature, so that's why we're doing the hunting. That's why we're doing the fitness, because I think that's all part of being in tune with your own nature, being in tune with the physical. But then on civilization realm, we are connecting back by giving our offering to civilization, and learning how to basically not have to work for somebody if we don't want to, but learning how to give that value back and create some sort of income and economy through our purpose, and then using the internet to share our message and connect with the world and be of value to the world, create a personal brand or whatever, you know, whatever you want to do with the internet. But I think it's good to know all those worlds and to be competent in all of them, because there's value that you could get and give in all of them, you know. So that's kind of the framework for what we'll be teaching, studying, and the skills that we will be building. We're also going to talk about relationships. We're also going to talk about family dynamics. It's just everything that you could think of, like anything that you want to bring to, you can bring to that group. So it'll just be a place for us to have a solid perspective from other like-minded men. So yeah, if anybody has any questions on that, you could send me an email or DM me, but sometimes I get a lot. I don't get back to all of them, but I'll try to make that a priority. Yeah, so if anybody has any other questions, I'm gonna get off of here now, but it was good connecting with y'all and sharing my story. Thankful for everybody that tuned in, everybody that knows me from where I came from and that's seen the transformation. I think that's extra special, because you know, it's all been online for people to witness. So I'm grateful for it. yeah, so yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Aloha. Stay balanced.
Okay, guys, in the interest of working smarter and not harder, I've put together 2 flashback videos of Rambo. Let's get into the next video, guys.
This wild Quetzal, and I remind people of who they've always been through timeless principles and practices that are intertwined with nature and the nature of oneself, what it means to be human. And part of what it means to be human is initiation, going through different situations, rites of passage, and being tested ultimately. Hey, what up, Frankie? Hey, what's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? How's everybody starting this week off? Hope everything's going well for you. Hope that you are navigating life in a strong, positive way. I wanted to talk today about rites of passage, initiation, and going through shit ultimately. And I think this is a universal topic for men and women, that we can all glean a little bit of wisdom from. And you know, this is just part of the human experience in my mind, in my eyes. Yeah, I'm in Chris said Hawaii. Yes, I'm on the island, the big island. And so yeah, man, I think that if you haven't been initiated, that you haven't really tapped into your full self. And I'll explain a little more about what I think it means to be initiated. Because I think that life initiates us sometimes as well. But I think initiation is more about a conscious awareness that something is happening, that you are moving or going through something, but that it's in your best interest in a way, that it's a mechanism for you to grow and evolve from that experience, you know. And so I think that's different than when people just go through hardship and they don't have that perspective. They don't look at it as an initiation. They just look at it like life is hard, life is challenging. I don't like this. They have maybe a negative perception on it, and thus they're not able to take or receive what that experience is trying to teach them. We here like to look at life as a projection of our own mind. We like to move with the understanding that everything is here to teach us something, that everything is a part of the all, what we might call God, that we're experiencing this as a fractal program that's supposed to show us ourselves, and that we're traversing through this journey of life to learn and grow and develop ourselves. So we move with that understanding and we navigate life with that understanding. So when things come into our life that are hard, we can embrace them in ways that we might not be able to if we didn't have that understanding or that perspective of life. So we believe that we are going through this experience, and that there's going to be things in this experience that are catalysts for our own growth and development. And so when things happen in our life, we see them as some sorts of initiation, some sort of process for our growth and development.
All right, y'all, go ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
And that could be hard for a lot of people, because I think that sometimes we want to kind of segregate the world into good and bad. And so we have this idea that bad is this thing that is evil, or that this force that isn't the positive force that we identify is evil in some sorts of way, or that it's out to get us, or that it's against us in some sorts of ways. But I think that life is just life, and existence is existence, and we're all contending with it and trying to make sense of it and figure out how to approach it in a way that's empowering. And sometimes I think that we fail to do that for ourselves, and we actually cause friction and negativity into our own life because of our inability to actually find the empowering perspective. that's one of the key things that I think that if you can do in this lifetime, if you can embody that, that you will have a much more pleasant experience, is the ability to always find the most empowering perspective. Figure out how to do that for yourself. Figure out how to analyze your reality and the angles, the different angles that exist, and find a perspective that empowers you the most. And when you find yourself not doing that, when you find yourself being a victim to life, or finding out reasons, perspectives that don't put you in the seat of control or empowerment, then realize that you're outsourcing your power, and you have every right to do that. But what that does is that it takes your ability to implement drastic change and ultimately empowering transformation into your own life. So you can blame others, you can blame the system, you can blame history, you can blame your government, you can blame all kinds of things outside of you. You have every right to do that, but just know that that also comes with a trade-off, and the trade-off is that you also don't have the power to reclaim your own sovereignty, your own control and direction over your life ultimately. So yeah, it is a uphill battle. You can fight that if you want to. I've chosen to not do that. I've chosen to find an empowering perspective. And I think that when we look at history, when we look at human nature, it's really all very similar. And so it's challenging for me to look at different cultures, different people, different governments, different countries as superior or inferior, because I think that the essence of what human nature is, that we all embody it throughout all cultures. And when you look at different cultures, you can see the roots and the essence of humanity in all of them. You can see the different variations of who we are in all the cultures. You can see the beauty, you can see the hardship, you can see the struggle, you can see the laughter, you can see the joy, you can see the war, you can see all of it. It exists within all of us. And when you realize that it's just this game of like oppressor versus oppressed, kind of dissolves, because you just realize that who we call oppressors today is just people who, or cultures whose time it is to.
All right, y'all. If you haven't picked up your copy of Greatness is a Habit, authored by Aaron Dixon, otherwise known as True, many of you know him as True. He is an ex-Carbonation member, and he's authored this amazing read. If you are interested in self-development and growth, this book is a good one for you. It's available on Apple Books for $1, guys. I got my copy and I love this book.
To be in that position, but then later on, it'll be some other culture. Like, that's just kind of how the history of humanity has worked up until this point. It's just kind of been this shifting of power and control from one to the other. And it's like, if we really embody the principle of karma, we can't really feel bad for any culture, because at the end of the day, when we look into history, there's nobody that's innocent. Nobody's innocent. Nobody is innocent. No culture is innocent. No person is innocent. Nothing in this reality is innocent, because to be innocent would mean that you are free, that you're free from being bound to reality, that you're free from being bound to the repercussions of reality, of being a part of reality. So nothing is free, because everything is bound, and because everything is bound, everything is a byproduct of something else, some other action, some course of action that we've taken, either as an individual, as a collective. So it's like, when you look at life like that, it's like, well, what we're experiencing right now is just a residual or a byproduct of previous actions. And every body, every individual, every country, every nation, every culture has something to atone for, has something to where there was some level of unrighteousness that happened at some point for them to experience what they're experiencing today. And those who are causing something today will have something coming to them that is a byproduct of what they are causing today. So it's like, when you embrace that principle, it's like you can't be a victim, because then being a victim would say that you are only segregating karma into situations that you are selectively deciding that that applies to them. But we have to, when we apply what principle, that principle needs to be universal. It should be able to be applied to all. So with initiations, I did some research, and I just been looking into a lot of different cultural practices when it comes to rites of passage. And man, some of these rites of passage, I think, to the common person, to the modern person, to the Western culture, they seem hella extreme and very visceral and very off-putting, you know, in many ways. And so I was just kind of analyzing a lot of them and just trying to figure out the commonality between them. And I think that what I see a lot of is like having this visceral experience, is like really trying to have an experience that transcends like the average everyday life, because that's kind of the mark of a significant moment, is that it differentiates itself from the rest of your life by virtue of its visceralness, by virtue of its just depth of richness, of difference from regular life. So it's like you have to do something very different from regular life to mark or commemorate some moment. And I think that's what I see in these traditions, where people are doing things that to us might seem very extreme, you know, but at the end of the day, the purpose is to differentiate that moment so that we can have an experience that we can move on from, that we can later on reflect, because it was so different from everyday life, and it was so challenging, it was so hard, it was so painful, it was so whatever, insert the adjective that you want, but you know, it differentiates itself from the rest of our life. And so then we can look back on it as a special moment in time where we experienced something that brought us to a certain experience or understanding of ourselves through hardship, through challenge, you know, that we were able to see ourselves in a different light. Because who we are in everyday life when we're comfortable is different than who we are when challenges come. Like, you could be experiencing life calmly and peacefully.
All right, y'all, going ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
And you could be happy and you could be at peace and you could be very optimistic about life, but wait for something challenging to come through. Wait for a situation, you get that phone call, you get that text, you get that exchange of words in a negative way with somebody that you're close to, and all of a sudden your world shifts. You know, you come into a different version of yourself, a different part of yourself, where that's what I like to see. That's what I like to see, because it's cool, like the parts of us when we're like cordial, hey, how's it going, nice to meet you, oh, like we connect, like we're really compatible, like, oh, you're into that, I'm into that too, like obviously we love those moments, you know, but I think there's so much value in the contrast of the difficult situations, when you see the parts of people that is like, oh shit, like I've never seen you react like that, that's interesting, you know, because now you're starting to see the full spectrum of that person's actual being, personality, of their energy. You know, we get such a limited scope of what people are by the pleasant interactions that we have with them, but it's under the scrutiny of hardship, under the furnace of challenge, that we get to kind of extrapolate these different qualities out of people and get to see like, oh, okay, like they're really persistent, or man, like they gave up fast, you know, like, and then you get to see the richness of it. And it's like, I love that, because it's not that I want people to go through that necessarily, but I want to see who people are on a full spectrum, you know, like if you have something that you want to tell me, or you know, like you really perceive me in a certain way, but it takes us to get to a disagreement for you to bring it up. But I would love to know that information, because I think it's valuable. Like, I think a lot of times we shy away from these difference of opinion or just this different perspective that we have because we don't want to ruffle feathers or we don't want to engage with somebody in a way that we perceive not to be positive, but then in that way we kind of homogenize our expression into only what we perceive to be positive, and that's not who we fully are. Like, who we fully are is way more intricate and complex than that, you know. And at the end of the day, it's like you don't want to subject yourself to somebody else's perception too, because they're trying to figure it out too. So you're like over here withholding a perspective or knowledge or information or an opinion that you have because you don't want to ruffle feathers, but at the same time the other person's just trying to figure it out too, and maybe their life would be enriched a little bit because of your perspective that you share, you know. And maybe you could see if, like, you know, maybe you could see if they're even worthy of having in your life, because if you can't say something that they oppose, like if you have to agree on every single thing and every single opinion and every single perspective, and you can't even engage with them unless you agree with them, like, for me, that's not somebody that I want to associate myself with, because, you know, I know that the reality of human nature is that we're going to have different perspectives at some point. We're going to have different opinions. It's not that what I'm looking for, but looking for the ability to be able to have a discourse, to have a conversation, to differentiate in opinions in a way that's civil, in a way that's that moves the conversation forward, that enhances and enriches both of our perspectives, you know. So I think going through the fire is what I like to see. I like to see how people respond to that. I like to see how I respond to that, because I think that really that summons a part of me that I don't get to see regularly, you know. And I try to have that perspective when things are going on in my life. Like, okay, I'm being tested right now. I'm being tried. I'm going through some initiation because things have shifted now. Like, life was pretty benign and like chill just a second ago, but now, like, I can tell, like, I'm in another moment that things have shifted now. Like, okay, like, I'm going through it. My emotions are feeling a different way. Like, I'm feeling uneasy maybe. My peace has been disturbed a little bit. Like, now who am I going to be? Like, now how am I going to move with that understanding that things are a little bit different in this moment? You know, it's not all sunshine and rainbows right now. Like, who am I going to show up as? And, you know, the more conscious you become of that, like, the better you can show up, and the better decisions you can make ultimately, because now you're not like just a victim that's going through some shit that the universe threw at them, and why me? Life is unfair. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go through. Now you could be like, okay, this is it. This is what I've been preparing for. This is what I've been planning for. I know that this is bound to happen at some point in my life. Let's do it. Let's go through it, and let's try to navigate it as masterfully and as gracefully as we can, you know. And I think having that perspective is really going to empower you to have a better experience ultimately. Because, like I said, you're not going to escape it. You know, there's going to come a time in your life when hardship and challenge is going to show up, you know. So the best thing that we can do is to build that resilience within ourselves by cultivating a mindset that is solid, by going through experiences that make us more solid, by cultivating routines and discipline that make us more solid, by having a spiritual practice that enhances our experience, you know, through those hardships and those moments. And so, you know, sometimes life initiates you, but I think other times you have to consciously take a leap of faith, take a plunge into the abyss, and hopefully that you emerge out of that stronger, more capable, and with a better understanding of yourself. You know, for me, that plunge was ultimately leaving the life that I once knew, that I had been born into and accustomed to for, you know, 25, 27 years, and just leaving that life and trying something completely different that just completely shifted it was in many ways for me an initiation, a rite of passage, because it was that same, going back to that same component that I identified. It was a visceral experience that was so different from what I was used to, that it marked a significant moment in my life, and that was my initiation, you know, and through that I was tested a lot, plenty, often, every day, for that matter. But you know, it allowed me to see myself from so many different angles, because for a large portion of my life, I think I had a certain perception of myself that I think was not reflective of reality. And that's because I think a lot of times we're allowed to have that perspective because we either live in an environment where we don't have to rise to a certain occasion, or we're around people who don't hold us to a certain standard because we're not holding ourselves to that standard. So we kind of are allowed to traverse life with this idea of ourselves that's not reflective of reality, you know. So when I was put in a situation where I was actually being shown myself, where I was actually being reflected accurately to myself, those parts of me that I wasn't able to see because of the way my energy and my mind receives reality, there was many shadows and blockages. Now I was seeing that shit and I was confronted with it, and at first I denied it. At first I didn't want to accept that that was part of me, and it was even hard for me to perceive that that was reality. But through intention and awareness and repetition and community, having people around you that can be like, no, like, this is what you do, like, this is how you move, this is how you behave. And I'm not just saying it, they're saying it, he's saying it, everybody in the group is saying that, and we're saying that because we're trying to hold you accountable, because
I ain't even finna hold y'all, but I do understand that others have the capability to see things within you that you can't readily see yourself. But I want to tell you guys to be careful, because narcissists come in all shapes and sizes, and usually they are trying to change who you are as an individual person. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some instances where you can look at yourself and, yes, say that needs to change. But just use your own discernment and be very careful.
it's saying that, and we're saying that because we're trying to hold you accountable, because we care, you know, because you're part of this group. And if you're going to be part of this group, you have to be aware of the things that you might not be easily able to see about yourself. So then that's when I started to just kind of like reflecting and accepting certain things. And I think that's the hard pill to swallow, that for us to move forward and to really come into a new version of ourselves, we first have to accept the reality of where we currently are at. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And I think that that's why they won't ever move or evolve to a new version of themselves or a new part of their journey, because they're not able to just even assess reality for a moment and accept like that the idea that they have of themselves isn't who they truly are at this moment. And it's okay to believe in ourselves or see a vision for ourselves that is different from what we are, but we have to at some point know where we stand today so that we can move forward into who we're wanting to become. And so that's the process, that's the initiation, that's the rite of passage. And it's like, if you're a boy and you know you can be a man, you know that that's within you to tap into that part of yourself. It's one thing to think it, but the rite of passage is literally the process for you to get there. It's literally the test that will validate to you and to the world, to your tribe, to the people, that you are who you say you are. Because you thinking in your mind that you are a certain person has no bearing on reality. It does not inform anybody. You know, it's just an idea, it's just a thought, it's just a perception. But through real world practice, through iterations, through constant demonstration, we can be like, oh, okay, yeah, that he is solid, he is this, he is embodying this, because he's shown it through action multiple times that he is this person. So that's what the rites of passage have been designed to do, is to do that for people, you know, on a personal, internal basis, but also on a communal, tribal basis. Like, now that person is identified as someone within the tribe who's worthy of a different role now. where before that phase of their life when they were considered a boy, now that when they go into manhood, now maybe they're allowed to take on a partner, to take on a wife and have a family, because they've proved to the tribe that they can bear that responsibility, that they could bear that level of accountability for themselves and for those that they're wanting to take care of, you know. So a lot of people would say things like, oh, you know, you don't need nobody to validate you. You don't, you know, if you believe you're this, then you are that. And it's like, that's a very individualized perspective. And to me, it is very symptomatic of the culture that we come from, but it doesn't reflect our traditional ways. It doesn't reflect our tribal ways, because you should care about what your tribe thinks. You should care about what the people in your immediate culture, your family, your close relatives, the people who you spend life with, who you're born in, who you die alongside, you should care what they think. And the culture that you both are integrated into is providing the framework for how to navigate life. So if you try to deviate away from that and try to only think of yourself and be like, well, I believe this and I don't have to do this because I don't have nothing to prove to nobody. It's like in this culture, it makes sense because everybody's so segregated. So it's like you can't really validate yourself to 3 million people or whatever, you know. But within the context of community, of a small tribe, like that's important, and that's completely valid, you know, to move in that way, where you are considering other people, where you do want to prove yourself, where you do want to be considerate. I watched the video.
All right, y'all, go on ahead and drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Thank you guys in advance.
What was the video with? I don't know, some dude on Joe Rogan, and he put it so beautifully, because I was trying to figure out a way to integrate this thought. And the thought was, there's so many systems, right? People talk about communism, capitalism, socialism, and there's all these systems that people argue over the merit of which one is correct, which one is righteous, and which one is not. But I love what he said. And I think that this is a really good assessment, that he said that it's all relative to the population, basically. Like on a smaller scale, it's reasonable to be communal, to be social, to be socialist or whatever, or move in that way to where you're sharing and it's more egalitarian, and all these qualities that a lot of these qualities that we really resonate with. But on a larger level, he was saying like these systems become a tool that is necessary for growing populations. And that's something that I've been aware of to some extent, to where it's like I understood that the system has emerged to fill a need. And the need is that there's millions of people to be accounted for. So it's like if you're a government, if you're a country, if you're a culture that has to manage millions of people, I could see where you would change or do things differently than if you were managing a small tribe of people, because there's so many different factors that change when you come into that kind of large population. Like on a smaller scale, we can do things that we could never do on a larger scale, right? So you have to take that into consideration. And it's where I realized like there's a place for everything. There's a time and a reason why things exist. And so rather than demonize things or say that that's bad and evil and that's the reason why the world is the way that it is, how about we look at it as something that emerged because of a need, and maybe that thing was already flawed from the beginning. Maybe we already deviated from the beginning, but maybe that wasn't the inherent nature of why things started. Like maybe it wasn't as like this evil thing that we think that the world has been plotting against us, or that the 1% or the elite, as people have been plotting. Maybe it's just something that has emerged as humanity. Maybe we all can take some sort of accountability to a degree as a collective, you know, because we love to segregate and separate ourselves. But what that does is also it it disables us from being able to have collective control, unity, because it was like, oh, they did it, not me. Like I'm just innocent. I don't know no better. You know, like a lot of people want to play that role, but I think to a degree, we all have some part in it, you know, and we are all playing a part in it. So just to say that, you know, that there is a place for community to validate you and for others to validate you, to be able to take on a certain role. You know, even when we're talking about leadership, your community has to validate you for leadership, you know, and it is because of the community that you're able to even lead. You know, there is no leader without somebody to follow, without somebody to guide, you know. So in that way, you know, it's all necessary. So if you, I'd like to just extend this to you and think about this for yourself. Just reflect on your life and analyze and see if you feel that you've been initiated, that you have consciously traversed life or a situation that you were aware or looking at it from a perspective that at the end of the day, coming out of that, you were going to be more empowered. And if you haven't, maybe ask yourself what you can do in your life that will put you through that process so that you can experience what you need to experience to grow and propel yourself to a greater, more empowered version of yourself. And there's many ways to do that. Like I said in my video today, we can take inspiration from our ancestors if you're still connected to the culture that you originated from, but from other cultures we can take inspiration as well, and we can self-induce or create new rites of passage moving forward so that we can honor the different phases and transitions in our life as significant moments in time, not just numbers on a birthday calendar, not just, you know, another cycle around the sun, but something a little more significant, you know. And if you can have and generate that visceral experience, I think that you can use that as a catalyst to grow and develop and come into a new stage in version of yourself ultimately. So yeah, if you haven't done that, and if you're interested in something like that, if what I've spoken to you has resonated to some degree, I know I shared it in my story already, and I will continue to talk about the Wild Brotherhood and ask you to join the Wild Brotherhood if you haven't done so yet. So it's the online community. So we're meeting up every week to talk and discuss all things masculinity and growth and development. But also we have the event coming up on June 14th through the 18th, y'all. Like this is what I'm talking about. This is the rite of passage. This is the visceral experience. I think that for me, when I got into hunting and when I saw that being done, for me, it was very much a rite of passage, and it still is. Even new experiences that I have on the land, for me, still provide that kind of visceral experience that really has me reflecting a lot and putting me in a very reflective state, and also allowing me to tap into a new part of myself. So that's what this event is going to be about. It's about putting us in that position to grow, putting us in that position to see things from a different perspective. And I think it's 100% crucial for humans to be initiated. This particular event is for those who resonate with the masculine. I've gotten many questions. For some reason, it's one of my popular questions. If, like other people who identify as male or other, I don't know. There's a lot of different terms that I'm not completely aware of that I know like have emerged recently in the culture. To me, it's very simple. Like you either do what the masculine does or you do what the feminine does. And you know, I think even when I look into different species, like I remember reading the book about chimpanzees and learning that in some instances there was females who did the role of male. And so I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I think that if you're female and you resonate with the masculine role and you are going to go through that same process, I don't see nothing wrong with that, because you're going to have to be initiated the same way, but there's not going to be no like changing or differences. It's just about what path you internally resonate with, and you could take on that path if you want to. So that's why I've said to multiple people, anybody that resonates with the experience with the Wild Brotherhood and that feels in alignment to it is welcome, because at the end of the day, the standards and the process remains the same. There's not going to be no special treatment for anybody. There's not going to be no differentiation in terms of like how you look or none of that. It's just going to be the masculine. The masculine, I truly believe in the primordial energies that this reality is built on, and that's the masculine, the feminine, and that dynamic. And I think that that for me allows me to structure life in a way that makes it easier to navigate. But I also understand that it's more complex than that. And that we all embody these energies. I have a lot of feminine energy as well. Like I have masculine energy. I identify with masculine energy, but I also have feminine energy. So that's how I look at life. I look at it as energy. And when I look into these tribal cultures, when we look into traditional indigenous cultures, there is very much a segregation, but I think the segregation is mostly based on energy, because sometimes that the gender can be integrated into a different energy. So, when I like to base off what I see in nature, what I observe in nature. So, that's how I'm navigating this situation as well. So, whatever title, whatever label you've attributed to yourself, I don't care, as long as you resonate with and are in alignment to and are going to do and be part of the process that we're going through, and don't expect any preferential treatment or special treatment. Like, you can participate, I don't care. Like, you're going to be held up to the same standard as everybody else. So that's all that matters to me, so I really look forward to the growth that's going to happen with this Wild Brotherhood, because and the prosperity of the planet ultimately, so I believe that what I'm doing is righteous and what needs to be done, and my role to play, and there's a role for you too. There's a role for everybody. And when you can find that purpose, find that light, find that navigation, you can navigate life in a more positive, enjoying state, even when it's hard, even when it's challenging. Just that compass that guides you, that North Star, which is your purpose, will allow you to move in ways that you would never imagine, in a mundane life where a lot of us come from, just that grind. We don't see a way out sometimes, but I think that there is a way out. I know there's a way out, because I came from there too. Like, I created a whole different life than what I was born into, and I wish I would have had the brotherhood that I'm putting together now, because it would have helped me level up so much faster. It would have helped me to connect with other people who are on the same path. It would have brought so much understanding and so much alignment faster, but we have it now. And I think that now we're in a point where the consciousness collectively on the internet, online, is just more receptive to that kind of information, that receptive to that kind of process. And so I'm glad to be a part of it, man. Anybody that resonates with it, that wants to contribute and be a part of it, I look forward to connecting with you. I look forward to seeing you in the Wild Brotherhood. So the event is June 14th through the 18th. Like I said, it's 6 slots available, and it's all inclusive. Basically, just get your ticket, buy your plane ticket, and we'll see you here on the land. We'll have access to the fruit. We'll have access to hunting. We'll have access to beautiful locations. We'll have access to the network. We'll do some ceremonies. We'll eat some local wild food. We'll have an experience that, will transform you, and that you can walk away from feeling like empowered, like you're going to start a new phase of your life. because that's ultimately what the initiation and the rite of passage is designed to do. So, link is in my bio. Go to wild-brotherhood.com. All the information is there. This is the first one we're doing, so if you can't do this event, even though you want to, maybe financially you're not ready for that, you can always sign up to the Wild Brotherhood membership, where we'll just be doing the same thing but on a digital online level on an ongoing basis. Let me see. Here in Greece, I wake up at 2:20 and I can sleep. Your message is the reason. Thank you. You give me inspiration. Hey, I appreciate it. I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for that. Thank you. The rites of passage was relative to the everyday lifestyle, so considering the comforts of society today, our modern day rites of passage would not have to be as extreme. Yo, yes, that's definitely true. I think that there's something to be said about that. Yeah, I think we don't even have to try to make them extreme. I think even something that would be more moderate for them probably to us is extreme, you know, like, because like you said, it's relative to our own lifestyle. A lot of us are very comfortable. Like if you just got somebody to probably walk the amount of distance that they might walk in a day, that to them might be a challenge, where to them is just everyday life. Empowerment Priestess says, yep, muting your true thoughts and feelings is not an authentic way of being. It's people-pleasing performance, really. Yep. People don't want to be authentic anymore, I believe. Yeah, I think it's just a lot of fear and programming, and just like people are comfortable with hiding themselves because they don't want to ruffle feathers, or, you know, there's trade-offs to it for sure, but also benefits to it. You get to find people who are actually in alignment to who you actually are. Trying to run from bad times or negative emotions, called spiritual bypassing, ultimately just makes everything harder later. I don't even think you could bypass. I think you can prolong at times the inevitable, but why prolong the inevitable when it's here now? Like, that's why stuff always catches up to people. You know, I had a situation in my life recently where I found out, like, a relative of mine had been incarcerated for something that they did in 2001, and they were on the run for literally like 22 years just trying to stay away from the law. And it's like that shit caught up with them eventually, you know, like they thought that they could bypass that, but it's like sometimes reality, even if it's 10-20 years from now, it catches up with us, you know. But yeah, just learn to have a better perspective on the test that life throws at you. We can grow in pain and suffering, or we can grow with faith and love. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think that that's true, but I think that it's different. I think that, like, and it's also like just how you're looking at it. Like, pain and suffering, I think people just have a really hard time integrating certain words because they look at them as inherently negative. They're not able to extrapolate like the benefit of it. But I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think it's love and faith is limited because it's only one side of the equation. And like I said, like, you can see one person when everything's going good, they're in their faith, they're experiencing love, they'll be one way, but when things get hard, they'll be a different person. So the reality of life is that we're going to experience both. And if you look at pain and hardship as something negative, when it inevitably comes into your life, you won't be the person that you could be if you had a better perspective on it, and you won't be empowered through that. You'll just suffer through that. True suffering is a choice of perspective, of looking at things a certain way. Otherwise, it's just challenge. It's just going through something and you emerge at the other end. It doesn't have to be negative. Hey, what up, the Black Airbender? Yeah, but good talking to y'all. Good live, good build. Much love to everybody. Hope everybody has a beautiful night, beautiful day, and I hope to see you guys soon. Another time. All right, stay balanced. Peace.
All right, y'all. I hope y'all enjoyed this video as well as my commentary. Please be sure to drop me a comment, smash the heck out of that like button, and share. Guys, I want to give a warm welcome to all of my new subscribers. Hey y'all, welcome to the channel. To all of my OGs, my day ones, my ride or dies, y'all already know what it is. Big up yourself. We in the building with it.